By now I'm assuming that you're very comfortable with forward flight as well as inverted, backwards inverted, and backwards right side up. I'm also assuming that you guys are very comfortable hovering in all orientations, right side up as well as upside down, and that includes nose in, tail in, as well as sideways. So today we're going to be talking about funnels, flips, and hurricanes. Okay, let's get started with episode number 2, chapter 2 of Learning 3D. Let's go ahead and head out to the flying field. All right, we're going to talk about flips as well as hurricanes and funnels. Funnels are also known as pie dishes in Europe. If you guys have watched the first episode of Learning 3D, I'm assuming at this point that you're very comfortable with forward, backwards, right side up, as well as upside down flying. You can tell it's a pretty windy day. So let's do flips first. This is really easy actually. The key to do the flips, there's a couple of things that you need to look for. First of all is you need to be very comfortable with your collective input, and you need to time it perfectly right. So if I'm tail in, I'm going to go ahead now and do a forward flip. So I'm just going to apply forward elevator, and on my left stick I'm going to transition to 0 pitch, then to negative, then back to 0, and then to positive. So here we go. Now one thing that's very important when you do a flip is I recommend, and like we discussed in the past, if you've mastered all your basics, hovering in all orientations, upside down and right side up, you should be able to control the helicopter in any orientation. So for example, I'm going to do a backwards flip, same deal. I'm going to pull back elevator, and I'm going to transition from positive to 0 to negative, back to 0, back to positive. So 0, negative, 0, positive. That was kind of ugly. But my point here is that if you're comfortable with all orientations, say you do a half flip, you should be able to hold it there and make, and as a matter of fact, you should be able to make corrections as you're flipping it. So if I do continuous flips, I should be able to make corrections as I'm flipping to make it stay in one spot. And a lot of people learn to do these flips, but they are just basically applying elevator and adjusting the collective to get in and out of it without making any corrections because they're not comfortable with any orientation. In other words, if I do a roll, I'm going to do the same now but with aileron. So I'm going to do a roll. Same deal here. I'm going to use right roll, right aileron. I'm going to go from positive to 0 to negative to 0 to positive. 0, negative, 0, positive. 0, negative, 0, positive. Again, if I go like this, I should be able to control the helicopter here without hesitation. So I like to do these 4 pointed ones. So, and I'm actually correcting right here and right here. So it's important again that you know your basics so that anywhere you do your flip, say I'm doing a flip right here and I'm doing a backwards flip, I want to be very comfortable with this orientation and this orientation if I want to do the flip in complete control. And that's the way that you can like do it and get like really brave and close to the ground. You have to really have that kind of control to be able to make your corrections as you're doing these flips. So this is something that you basically have to practice a lot in the simulator. Same here, say forward flip, I should be very comfortable with this orientation so I can make my corrections as I'm doing these flips. All right, now let's talk about hurricanes. You guys already know how to do backwards, right side up, as well as inverted circuits. So a hurricane is basically the same thing you've been doing. It's called a hurricane just because it looks like a hurricane. So what you do is you start, I'm going to do a right side up one, backwards, You do your backwards flying like we taught you before on the first chapter, but you pick up a lot of speed. So you use a lot more aileron and a lot more elevator to steepen your angle. And you obviously need a lot more collective too when you're doing this. So there's pretty much 4 kinds. There's your backwards, your inverted backwards, your forward, and inverted forward. Of course, not many people do 4 hurricanes right side up because it just doesn't look very appealing. Looks pretty basic, but that's technically called a hurricane too. So here's your traditional hurricane, upside down, backwards. Same deal. It's just nothing more than a backwards inverted circuit. You just have to steepen the angle, a lot more aileron, and a lot more elevator, and a lot more collective. So you can make it like real big. Now, a good way to enter a hurricane, for example, if you're flying, say out of a hover, and you want to do a hurricane clockwise, backwards inverted, the easiest way is like pull back elevator and what I call a tail stand, go to negative, and that's how you start your hurricane. So that's a real easy way to start a hurricane. Another way to start a hurricane, for example, a forward inverted one is, say counterclockwise is out of a hover, a forward flip into negative, and that's how you can start a forward inverted hurricane. So there's a lot to do here, and it should be pretty easy for you guys at this point if you paid attention and learn and practice lesson number 1. All right, guys, I'm going to show you how to do funnels now, also called pie dish in Europe. Basically what you do, we're going to do right setup funnels first. It's right setup as well as upside down funnels. What you do is you start a hurricane, for example, backwards. I'm going to go that way. And then as I'm doing my hurricane, I start feeding more tail in the direction of travel. That's how you begin the funnel. Now, the important thing to keep in mind about a funnel is things change pretty much here. When you're doing a funnel, your aileron is what determines your rate of turn, and your angle of attack is determined by your elevator. So this changes my angle. Now, this is something that you have to practice quite a bit, because the steeper the angle, the more collective you need, or the tighter the turn needs to be. If you want to make a big funnel with a steep angle, you need a lot of collective. If you want to make a very small funnel, very tight funnel, with a steep angle, then you can get away with less collective. But it's just basically a combination of everything. Now, again, if you follow your basics, you learn your basics, you should be able to obviously fly forward, and you should be able to change your tail around and do a nose down funnel. So you should practice this orientation too. So you could do a nose down funnel. Of course, you can transition back to backwards, tail down funnel, forward, nose down funnel, backwards, tail down funnel. And that's how you end up doing a pirouetting circle or a pirouetting wall of death. This is obviously a right side up one. Makes it really easy. Obviously, I'm not going to go into detail with that, but the key here is to learn. We'll get into those at a more advanced episode. But the key here is to be very comfortable with doing the funnels in all orientations, nose down and tail down. You're always going to have a preferred, I guess, direction. I always prefer counterclockwise, but I can do them both ways. You'll always develop, I guess, a more natural feel in one direction. So upside down funnel, same deal here. We're going to go upside down. I'm going to start a hurricane, backwards inverted hurricane. Same thing we did before. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drop the tail in the direction of travel. So if I'm going counterclockwise, I'm using right tail. I'm going to use more right tail and drop that tail all the way down. And that's how you enter a inverted funnel. Again, same situation here. Your angle of attack is dictated by the elevator. If I steepen my angle and I try to keep my funnel big, as you can see, I'm feeding more collective because I need more collective to stay in the air. If I lessen my angle of attack here, more of a shallower angle of attack on the pie dish, then less collective. If I tighten it and make it really tight, then I can get away with very little collective. So this is something you have to play with. It takes a bit to get used to be able to do these well. But basically that's the easiest way to enter the funnel. Again, upside down funnel, you start a hurricane. And as you're hurricaning, you drop your tail. And you work your aileron, dictates the rate of the turn, and your elevator dictates your angle of attack on the helicopter. Another thing here that's important mentioning, your bailout plan. I'm going to go ahead and do it again. The best bailout plan for this is to apply a little bit more elevator, backwards elevator, and apply a lot of negative. So for example, if I start getting in trouble and I'm coming around this way, a little bit more back elevator and negative, and that climbs and gets me out of trouble. So good bailout plan right there. And as I explained before, same deal with inverted funnels. If you get comfortable with tail down, you obviously know how to do a hurricane, nose forward. Then you need to learn to do funnels upside down with the nose down. And then that's how you start eventually mastering the helicopter and all those orientations, and it opens up the doors to do your pirouetting wall of death, or also known as pirouetting hurricanes or pirouetting funnels. So ways to enter a funnel, aside from what I just showed you, there's many ways. You could do a tail stand, for example, back elevator, similar to what I did before with the hurricane. You can enter a funnel like that. So that's a cool transition, very basic. Another easy way to enter a funnel is a half piro flip. Obviously we haven't gotten to that point yet, but I will explain that in a future episode. Half piro flip into backwards invert it, and that's how you start your funnel. There's many ways to enter and exit. Easiest exit, for example, let's get it back into an inverted funnel. Easiest way to exit a funnel. It doesn't look fancy or anything. It's just to give it four elevator and positive pitch. A more fancy way to exit would be throwing a pirouette or something. You come around, and then as you cross center, and you throw a pirouette, and you exit either that way, or you exit, for example, let's do it the pirouette, and then you exit that way. So a lot of things to do here. We'll revise funnels later when we work more with transitions and more advanced maneuvers. But again, try to learn funnels right side up as well as upside down, and that way you can do really cool transitions like this one right here. I think that looks pretty cool. And then you can come around like this, and for example, a funnel figure eight here, it's just a combination of a right side up funnel this way with an upside down funnel that way. You've probably seen this maneuver a lot. So I hope you found these tips useful. Flips, hurricanes, and funnels are really simple maneuvers, but they can complement your 3D routine, and you will come to find out, in future episodes of Learning 3D, how we can do really cool things with these maneuvers and mix them together with some really cool transitions with other more advanced maneuvers. But anyway, I'm personally looking forward to future episodes of Learning 3D when we get into more advanced maneuvers and we start talking about pirouetting maneuvers like piro flips and pirouetting wall of deaths and pirouetting loops and all that kind of stuff. So it should be really fun. Also for Chapter 3, the next episode of Learning 3D, I'm going to be talking to you guys about rainbows as well as TikToks. It's going to be really cool. I'm actually looking forward to number 3. I'm going to go ahead and slow down the camera motion and show you how I manage the collective and the cyclic when I do these TikToks. And I'm also going to give you some pointers on some of the orientations that you have to master to be able to do these TikToks in all kind of orientations: tail down, nose down, sideways, as well as disc towards you and disc away from you. So it should be pretty cool. So again, thanks for watching episode number 2 of Learning 3D. I will see you guys next time.